There's a pretty significant shift happening with children that are in institutions and kind of moving to this idea of family-based care. And with that comes a whole host of questions. And so we've spent actually the last couple years working through these. And so what we want to do is answer some of those commonly asked questions for you. So let's jump into some of these FAQs and see if we can answer some of your questions.
One of the questions that we have been asked is, did Cherish used to be an orphanage? And the answer is no. It's never been set up to be an orphanage. We have always been known as a children's home. But since we have reunified all of our children to their families, we no longer even have a children's home.
Do you think orphanages are bad? I think orphanages are not bad, but based on what happens in the orphanages, they can be bad. And just to give a few examples of things that happen within the orphanages, everything that the child does is programmed. They know when to wake up, they know when to take breakfast, they know everything has to be determined. And so they never have that opportunity of doing things because they know they should do it. It's always programmed. And then they always have caretakers that are being changed. One caretaker today and another caretaker the other time. And they're never attached to one specific person. And so it is hard for a child not to really have that sense of belonging.
Do you think that the parents who drop their kids off at orphanages really love them? If they love them, why would they abandon them? That's a really great question, because many children do end up in orphanages, institutions, because there is a parent that has abandoned them with the hopes they'll end up there. In fact, we found that 80% of children in orphanages worldwide actually have one living parent. And the reason they do this is really out of love and desperation for their children. Most of the time they look around at their home and they think, I don't have the money to educate them. In fact, I don't even have the money to often feed my child, let alone medical care, and how do I best support them? And so they start to realize, you know what, there's this orphanage down the road, and maybe if I leave my child at the gate in the middle of the night and run away, then somebody's gonna pick up my child and they're gonna educate them and care for them.
Were children ever adopted or even adoptable? Actually, that was probably one of the first questions I asked the first time I ever came to Cherish, because we had just adopted our son from Ethiopia. And the CEO at the time said, none of our children are adoptable. But that was before we realized that some of our children have come as complete orphans, having no families. We have adopted 5 children into families right here in the US. And what we couldn't find at that time when we were adopting those children were Ugandan families that could adopt HIV positive children. And so that's when we went ahead and teamed up with an amazing organization here in the States, and they helped get those families into homes. And currently they are all thriving.
You say that institutions aren't healthy for children. In what ways? And where did you see this with the children at Cherish? Yeah, institutions, and as an institution, we tried our best to care for kids. I mean, 3 square meals a day and a safe, secure place to sleep, and clean sheets and clean clothes, and some sort of spiritual development and social network. But the truth is, that can never replace a family. And so what we were finding with kids that were spending multiple years at Cherish is they were coming out of Cherish with this idea of being really externally strong, but internally broken, because there wasn't good connection with a caregiver. There was a detachment really happening, and trauma based on how they got to Cherish, and then even some trauma that ends up happening when you are in an institution with a lot of other traumatized children. And that's when the light bulb started to come on, and we started to realize this model we thought was the best really isn't.
Another commonly asked question is, how often do you go check on the children who are reunified with their family? The truth is, we commit in a legal contract that we'll go and visit them at least once a year. But some of our families require more visits than that, because the true way of being able to bring transformation and change is to be more frequently visiting their homes. So we really want to disciple our children and their families, and that takes time and it takes more visits than what we've currently been doing. So one of the strategies to end this year, and for sure as we launch into 2020, is to increase our home visits.
What if a child's family isn't safe? Do the children still go back? In situations where the family of the child is not safe, we don't take the child into that family. There are situations where maybe the family members are alcoholic, or maybe there are high chances of child abuse. We do not risk to take a child in such a family, and so we try to find other people that can foster the child as we continue to work with the families. And when the families are ready to take on the child, with chances of child abuse not happening, then that's when we step in and do that.
Who are the foster parents who have volunteered to foster, and where did you find them? We have just currently, this past year, started fostering some of our children that we couldn't reunify into their homes for many different reasons. So the very first place we went to was our Cherish staff. And we knew that our staff have loved our children, and we thought, why not take people that already have a relationship with our kids and put them together?
What happens when a child turns 18? Well, when a child turns 18 and lives in an institution, what happens is they're often given some money and a few leads on a possible job and kind of set out into the world. And a child who grows up in an institution, who is now just kind of abruptly, as they feel, abruptly set out into the world, is really going to struggle. There's just not enough support for them as they're trying to figure out these next steps. So our hope is, as we've now put children, reunited children back with families, is we start helping those families understand that their role is a spiritual one, and their role is an emotional one, their role is a physical one, and their role does not stop when that child turns 18. But we want to work with and partner with families, so we help them move from out of school and into the world of work, and to have a job where they can contribute to society and start to build the kingdom on their own. And that happens best in a family.